From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a big evening of Evenings LA with incredible great news about your forced stimulus check update of 2021. In tonight's recording, we go over the breaking news as the likeliness of multiple stimulus checks getting more checks because of the pandemic. I'll go over why the Democrats are likely to give you more checks under a forced stimulus package. Then deal done. $3.5 trillion of checks are coming to the American people. And these aren't checks for children. These are checks for seniors, checks for you, checks for workers, checks for all types of walk of life. It's forced stimulus recon. And I'll go over all these big checks that are coming to you under the forced stimulus recon. Then vote, bill, dates. Next week is a lot of breaking news in the final 15 and final 7 of this video. I'll go over everything you need to know about the bill, the vote, and the dates happening next week. It's all real exciting news. Then we cut to the big money across the board that viewers continue to give: $5, $10, $15, $20,000. And now one viewer gained the second highest reported money for rent ever in this channel in the last 30 days. It's a great night, and there's a lot of wonderful, great news. Finally, a personal message from me at the end of this recording. Stay to the very end. This is Evenings LALATE. Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? It's a beautiful evening here on Evenings LA. How you doing? Well, it cooled down here finally in Southern California because LA, boy, Santa Monica, it was hot this morning. It felt like a blizzard was about to hit. Felt like the heat of the steamy South Beach of Miami. And suddenly it got better. So hopefully it's going to stay that way. How's the weather where you are? Jump in the live chat and tell me where you're tuning in from and how this is the weather. In this forced stimulus check update of 2021, we'll go over the breaking news as we go into the potential final 7 days of the forced stimulus battleground. We'll go over the checks and why you're likely to get more months of checks from those Democrats. Then we'll go to the deal. Deal of the century is $3.5 trillion of checks are coming to you under forced stimulus recon. These will be the biggest payouts you've ever seen. This is not just checks for children. In fact, there's no checks for children in here. That's third stimulus. This is fourth stimulus. And money for seniors and money for workers. A lot of checks, and I'm going to go over all the incredible details. Then we go to the vote, the bill, the date, and understand if you've been with this channel for a while, it's not one vote, one check. There's several votes they got to go through, but I'm going to go over all the votes you should see this coming week. And then we cut to the big money under fifth stimulus, which raises your benefits up a lifetime. My SSI and SSDI recipients, you were waiting for this. It's finally happening. I'm so excited for you. And then we cut to the big money across the board. It's $5, $10, $15, $20,000. Money for rent, utilities, and internet. Not 5 days from now, not 5 weeks from now, and not 5 years from now. It's happening right now. And the numbers are now shattering records. You're going to see some of those achievements tonight from viewers just like you, and go over how you can get this money as well. And this is LALATE, America's only 24-hour day, 7 days a week financial news channel in America. Live in the morning, taped in the afternoons. Coming up next is Overnight's Crypto, then Sirloin at 8 o'clock, so subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. Fastest growing channel there is in 1 year. Next up, 1 million. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the videos, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Let's get right into those monthly stimulus checks. Well, here we go. Pandemic ain't over, and that would likely signal more months of checks. House bill is a pandemic plus 1 year monthly stimulus check. Senate check is a July to December check. Let's go over the payouts. House bill is $1,000 a month after the first month of $2,000. Senate amount is unknown, but word on the street, the Senate amount is this. Deliciousness. $2,000 over 6 months, $12,000. Or $1,400 over 6 months, $8,400. 4 weeks ago, we thought the pandemic may be considered over and those legislators would just give us 1 year of checks, which would be 12 checks, $13,000. But then suddenly things changed, and that thing was Delta. Suddenly, LA started to tell people to voluntarily put their masks on. Then, 3 weeks ago, they changed and said masks are mandatory, back on. Then we saw the ramp up of COVID cases nationally, especially among Delta cases in all 50 states. Suddenly, the pandemic was definitely not over. And now, as we sit here this evening, the pandemic's certainly not over. And that would signal the pandemic would be giving you monthly stimulus checks, pandemic plus 1 year under the House bill. That would be more than 12 checks. That would amount to more than $13,000 from the House. But compare it to the Senate and this. I think you have an opinion. I think you have an opinion. Jump in the live chat right now and vote House or Senate. House or Senate, tell me where you're tuning in from. And how's the weather? Well, the fourth stimulus check would come to every individual across the board who got a third stimulus check. Single individual, $75,000 or less, you get a fourth stimulus check. Married couple, $150,000 or less, Democrats want you to have a fourth stimulus check, double it. Family of four, Democrats want you to have a fourth stimulus check, quadruple it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, veterans, you get a fourth stimulus check. The fourth stimulus check is not income. It's not taxable. The fourth stimulus check would be the same amount for adult dependents and everyone else. And the fourth stimulus check would not be a check that comes in waves. So if you're at the surf shop tonight and you're trying to purchase a new surfboard and you see one like this one, and you see the check also checking out the surf, then don't wave at the check. Hey, check. Cowabunga, my friend, how are you? Ready to check out the waves? And then the check just sort of stares at you. Oh, you're not a waveable check. Sorry, you don't surf. You're just a salesperson. Salesperson but doesn't surf. Okay, I got it. The fourth stimulus check will cover the month of July for the month of July that Democrats represent, and then the month of August for the month of August, and away we go. And deal. In the second part of this video, we'll be going over the deal. The $3.5 trillion of checks are coming to you under fourth stimulus, not checks for children. That's third stimulus. If you're still asking about those children for checks for third stimulus, you're confused. This is fourth stimulus. Fourth stimulus is about you and me. I'm not a child, at least not in the last few years, or at least not till after a few more drinks. So there you go. Fourth stimulus is giving you $3.5 trillion of checks. Checks for seniors, checks for adults, checks for workers. And this is a done deal. No longer a questioning of whether there's checks. There's 3.5 trillion of them. In the second part of this video, we'll go over how we got to this wonderful spot. Then we go to, in the third part of this video, the final 15 of the final 7. We'll go over the final 15 minutes of this video dedicated to the final 7 days potentially for fourth stimulus. We're likely to see the finish line in the next 7 days if their representations are correct. I'll go over all the incredible details coming up in that final 15. But first, here's a preview of the fifth stimulus. Fifth stimulus is what we're looking for our seniors. Earlier today, I went on a tear when someone jumped in the comments and said, stop talking about fifth stimulus. I haven't got my fourth stimulus check. I'm not talking about fifth stimulus for stimulus check. I'm talking about for my seniors, for my SSI and SSDI recipients who were promised this before you got a stimulus check. They were promised this during the campaign trail, and their benefits are big at issue, and they're the topic of the second half of this video. Will there be lifted up? They will. And how high? Really high. It's great, exciting news that's coming up later in this video. But first, let's get some moolah. I'm excited for you. When I thought that in recording a video and talking about $5,000 of rent, 4 to 6 months of rent, that was really what was happening. But you have blown it out of the water. Viewers like Nisi have gotten $20,000 of rent, and then in the last 48 hours came the second largest number reported on this channel in over 30 days. A viewer sent me a beautiful DM on Instagram yesterday reporting she got $17,000 of rent because of this channel. Yes. What's going on? If you got in rent from this channel, post in the live chat right now. Utilities. Post in the live chat right now. I had been reporting $300 for utilities. Viewers are getting $3,000 for utilities. And then Snap, I had been reporting $5,000 to $6,000. Viewers like John, $10,000 to $12,000. Viewers like Louie, $18,000. Oh my goodness, what's going on? This is what's going on. I want you to get a pen and paper ready. We're going to go over the big money for rent, utilities, internet, and Snap that I can get for you tonight. And this is what this channel does. From day one, this channel was launched not to track a check, but to cash checks. We're not donut guys, we're cashing checks. And when EIDL loan and grant checks were not going out, they were not cashable. But we started cashing checks. I got viewers $25 million of EIDL loans cashed through my videos. And then in fall of 2020, second stimulus was not going out. So there was no second stimulus check to track. But I got viewers $250,000 of rent to cash, like viewers like Tyrone, family of four out of Boston, cashed $15,000 of checks for his rent. You're doing it right now. Only difference is your numbers are killing it. I'm so proud of you. Post your success stories right in the chat right now. Get that pen and paper ready. And if it must be a Crayola crown, It's not muddled. This is just beautifully non-muddled, the shirt. All right, here we go. You're going to reach out to different places with different eligibility. You're going to reach out to your city hall, your city housing authority. Your county hall, your county housing authority. Your state housing authority, and your state hall. And here you go. Keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID. Viewers tell me that the keywords are the big difference in getting approval. Rent assistance because of COVID, or mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. You don't say words they don't know, like stimulus, or range of color options at the casino. No, it's just black and white. It's cows. Why would there be? There's no color at the casino. There you go. And congratulations to Tim and Linda who got this wonderful pot of money for rent. If you got rent, post a live chat right now. If you got utilities, post as well. The next pot of the money is SNAP. SNAP is a fortune. It's $15,000 for a family of 4 out of Hawaii. And what is SNAP? It is money for food. Where do you get it? Department of Agriculture. What is the eligibility? Easier than a stimulus check. And John got $10,000 to $12,000 from my videos. Congratulations, John. And then Louie got $18,000 this week. Oh my goodness, Louie. Yes, I'm so happy for you. Len Glenn got it for herself, her son, and her Len Glenn got it for herself, her son, and her mom, and Gail got it for herself. How much? Why is SNAP so much money? Because of 2 wonderful executive orders. One from Biden, one from Trump that raise your benefits up 15% between now and December. So go get it. I'm really excited for you. And there you go. We're only 11 minutes in this video, and we've gotten $15,000 for SNAP for family 4 out of Hawaii, $5,000 for rented lease. Post your SNAP success stories as well. The next pot of the money is the refund check from your state. States have been ordered to return checks back to you due to overpayment of unemployment benefits. And this is exciting, great news. Federal government stepped in and said, those checks are owed to the American people. And I'm excited to report that one viewer got $3,000, another got $5,000. Where's it landing? Direct deposit. When? Reach out to your state and say, hey, state, can you track the check due to overpayment of unemployment benefits and computer error? And can you track it with a computer that actually is from this century? I know you got old computers there. And there you go. And the last wonderful pot of money is the refund check from IRS coming back to you due to payment on that unemployment benefits. Congratulations. This is the money that Margaret got and Todd got and Michael got. But if you haven't gotten it, don't worry. IRS gave us an update, and that update from IRS is the following. Another wave of checks went out this week. The average round this refund is at $1,265. Wow, a lot of money. Direct deposits for this wave started July 14th. Paper checks started July 16th. A new wave every week. So if you're at the beach and you see the IRS, no, we're not going to do that joke. So there you go. Let's go over something first, though. Every time you post your success stories to the channel, you help other viewers. So if you haven't posted your rent, your utilities, your SNAP, or your internet, or anything like that, post it right away. You're helping viewers in 3 different ways from this channel. 1, it's inspiring other people to get the money. So if there's 1,000 people in the live chat and you see 30, 100, 200 people posting their success stories, it inspires them to get the money. Even if you posted other videos, post it again. Number 2, it inspires viewers who got 1 item to get other items. Because Art Sullivan, for example, got 3 items for this channel. If you only got 1, go get the other 2. Number 3, it updates us about the numbers. Because we thought $5,000 to $600,000, $5,000 to $6,000 was where the SNAP was landing. Now we realize people are getting an extra digit on that. Whoa, $16,000, $18,000. Incredible. So excited for you. Let's get to this big money back from IRS. Okay, so let's say you have $9,000 of total unemployment benefits, $5,000 of taxes, of which $4,000 was your taxes on unemployment benefits. Congratulations, you're getting back $4,000. Where? Direct deposit, otherwise in the mail. Can you track it? Yeah, about 70% of the time. Go to irs.gov and do a transcript search, and it'll reveal stuff that you never knew. It'll reveal the tax return you filed, the taxes you paid, but it'll reveal stuff that you just didn't want to know. Now you wish you forgot about it. It'll reveal when Mitch was on Star Search and he did the spokesperson competition. Was that hairstyle really a San Francisco hairstylist? And there you go. The visual for that is just overwhelming. His costume was a lobster, by the way. Here we go. The second part of it for Civil Check Update of 2021. It starts right now. Deal done. $3.5 trillion checks are coming to you under the Fourth Stimulus Recon of 2021 for the Democrats. It's done. And the Democrats solidified two items. One, they solidified that they're passing it, and they solidified a price tag, $3.5 trillion. All that's remaining is the actual vote. This is a huge accomplishment because originally the recon was this behemoth that had roads and bridges in there before July 4th. And when Chuck Schumer said that the final vote would be by July 4th, he thought that he had the Democrats' support. They would not support it because it had roads and bridges in there. It was too big. So they had to take the roads and bridges out, shrunk the recon, and put those roads and bridges in the bipartisan. It made the recon then passable. And it is now functionally passable, $3.5 trillion. Well, we had that confirmation from a conservative publication that said the following about the recon before this passage at $3.5 trillion, that the higher the price tag was originally on the recon, the harder it was to pass. There you go, confirmation. But by allowing the Democrats to take out some of the spending from the bipartisan roads and bridges and put it in, from the recon and put it into the bipartisan, the overall price tag of the recon got smaller. Obviously. In other words, the bipartisan deal made the recon passable. Sorry, Mitch. Sorry to set you up. But it's just the way it happened. I mean, he was set up. But he doesn't worry because the Republicans allegedly love the infrastructure. We'll learn this week how much they love the infrastructure because they claim it's going to a vote. Oh, that's coming up in the second half of this video, in the third part of this video. But boy, how do we get to the spot? From the progressives. The progressives had shrunk the recon, but then blew it up a little bit more, brought it to a $3.5 trillion price tag, and passed it in price principle. This is huge because this is what they said before. Ilhan Omar, Democrat, Minnesota, progressives, said we had to have a recon that goes as far as we want it. You got it, Elon. Congratulations, $3.5 trillion. And Richie Torres, Democrat, New York, said that we have to have a larger recon. You got it, Richie, $3.5 trillion. Congratulations. And then the Progressive Caucus was meeting with the White House daily to ensure the recon went big enough. They got it. All done. How do we get to this $3.5 trillion agreed upon price and principle? From Brian Schatz and Jalapal, they both confirmed, both progressives, that the White House had considered the progressive priorities in the recon its own priorities and to protect the recon. Well, that's what they got. And here we go. We have a reconciliation that has been passed for purposes of price tag and pass for purposes of principle. All that's left is the actual vote. And I'm talking about on the Senate side. This is huge, but let's go over what a recon is by starting with what the words are. Now, you hear me say the word recon and bipartisan on this channel. Very simple, two separate words. But the problem is that broadcast media and the president use other words to describe the same thing. So let's go over those other words. Recon is also called reconciliation, also called the budget bill. Price tag, $3.5 trillion. That's how you'd recognize if someone's talking about it. And people often quote in the article about it like a Bernie Sanders. Bipartisan, also called roads and bridges, but also called infrastructure. Smaller price tag, $1.5 trillion. That's how you'd recognize it. And people quote in the article about it, a Kristen Sinema, a Mitt Romney, and a Ron Portman. Now, how does a recon get done? A recon is written by Democrats for Democrats to be passed by Democrats. The authors are House subcommittee members. Those House subcommittee members are dedicated subject matters of the Constitution. Different subcommittees in the House are dedicated different subject matters to write on, and they have the cooperation with the Senate Democrats. One of the things you're going to see later in this video, and sort of a new topic I'm covering in these videos as well, is that when you have these subcommittees in the House, it does not mean that all House members are involved. It just means a few people on a subcommittee are dealing with a particular subject. And if you're not on that subcommittee and you're also a Democrat, you may want to modify stuff. And that's coming up in a second. So when those House subcommittee members are writing things, then they combine the final pages together. Let's say we have 10 subcommittees and 10 pages. Combine them together, send them up to Chuck. And at that point, you have a 10 times 10, 100-page bill, 100-page document combined together, and Chuck puts an S on it. There you go. Not a Schumer bill, not S for Schumer, but an S for Senate. You have a Senate bill. Done in front of us, but not done for formality. You're going to see later in this video the importance of understanding that is not the law. That is just a bill. And what I want you to understand, and I'm going to re-hit this a lot because you're going to see this throughout this video and throughout the next few days, is I see a lot of people thinking about one bill, one vote, one day. No, and I'm going to go over that more about this later. It's important to understand that this is not an oligarchy, and a democracy is not a one bill, one vote, one day process. No democracy operates like that. So when that bill is debuted, you see it. But before then, you don't. House subcommittees are not responsible in the Constitution nor obligated to show you what they're doing. They have to show you what they're writing, to show you what they're taking out, to show you what they're voting on. When you see the bill with that S on it, then you see it. It's sort of like a pop singer who has an upcoming album, and an upcoming album will have a series of songs on there. They're not going to show you the songs until they're released. And so broadcast media and myself both agree, we're just not seeing the bill until it's released. That is why if you see someone in the comments say, I haven't heard, I haven't seen, I haven't heard from, I haven't noticed, well, guess what? It hasn't been released. We have an emoji for that. And so if you see someone post that comment, hit that person back with the emoji, not bill yet. There you go. Can we top that? We can. As Jalapal got us to this incredible point by writing Chuck a letter saying, Chuck, call the vote on the recon. That letter was signed by 12 House Democrats, part of 100-plus House Democrats who had written the president a letter saying, we're going to be putting monthly stimulus checks to the fourth stimulus package. Wow, can we top that? We can. As 7 members of that House subcommittee wrote the president a letter saying, we're going to be putting monthly stimulus checks to the fourth stimulus package. Oh my goodness. Can we top that? Yes, because those are the same people we just spoke about. They're in the House subcommittee that write stimulus checks, and they represent they're putting a fourth stimulus check in there monthly. Whoa, we got to keep them to their promise, Purple Power. Can we top that? Yeah, they also say they're doing a fifth stimulus check. That's coming up later in this video. And then finally, Biden did it. The president went overseas 5 weeks ago to have a ceremonial signature today. And that ceremonial signature turned into a formal signature this last week in America. The global minimum corporate tax rate minimum is finally international law. This is used for fourth stimulus for a series of reasons. Number one, it's a tongue twister for a reason. It's complicated. And now it's easier to write the fourth stimulus recon because that complicated tongue twister is not in there. It's easier to call the vote on the recon because that complicated tongue twister is not in there. Easier to vote on it because that complicated thing's not in there. And easier to pass fourth stimulus because that complicated thing is not in there. Boy, can we top that? We can. As we go into the final 15 and the final 7. The final 15 minutes of this video go over the functionality of a 2-bill process, a recon and a bipartisan. And could both of them go for a vote next week? 11 people say they are. I'm going to go over who those 11 people are. I'm going to go over the steps and the reports of 2 Plan Bs. And then I'll go over fifth stimulus, which raises your benefits up. And finally, a personal message as well. All that exciting details are coming up, but something more exciting even than that, the volunteers. If you need help with rent, utilities, internet, and SNAP, reach out to the volunteers. They're on the community page. Where is that community page? Open the description of this video. You'll see an emoji of a house. Next to it, it says news.lalate.com/community. The community page. Click the link, it sends you there. On the community page, the volunteers are separated from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and social media. Reach out to them to help you get that big money. And I'll be back with you in 60 seconds with the big final 15 of the final 7 of fourth stimulus and fifth stimulus. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.lalate.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. and then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now on this mega Evenings LALATE, direct from Santa Monica. Breaking news for your big weekend evening, and I'm excited to deliver it to you. We'll be going over the final 15 of the final 7, what may be the final 7 days of the Four Stimulus Battleground. And in the final 15 minutes of this video, we go over all the details. Then we cut to fifth stimulus. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this channel. Hit that subscribe button right now. Also, like the video. 2,000-3,000 likes. Every like helps. And consider becoming a member. The link is under the video where it says join here. And coming up next tonight is Overnight's Crypto, and Sirloin. Stay on this video, will take you automatically to Overnight's Crypto. Boy, the president came on the campaign trail and promised you this SSI and SSDI reform, did not deliver. And then the Democratic senators and House members said, well, we're going to take care of it. And that's what's at issue here. They're putting that SSI reform in fifth stimulus, and that SSI reform is what you need, and what does it include? This. Raising your benefit limits up, removing the asset limit, adding inflationary benchmark, removing the income marriage penalty, and removing the income exclusion. It's absolutely wonderful. First, how does it work? It raises your benefits up. Who? You, if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, SSA, or multiple beneficiaries. Then it'll apply a new benchmark. The legislation will likely go to a vote about October, November, so the benchmark could get applied in December for next year's benefits. The benchmark? New. Inflation. And how high is inflation going? Well, Jay Powell, head of the Federal Reserve, testified on Capitol Hill last week and a month earlier, and he said the same thing. It's going to be transitory. That word means temporary, meaning that it's going to spike in December. Yes, just where we need it to spike, and then come back down. Perfect timing. Because when they apply that benchmark, that's when it's going to be spiking inflation. How high is it going to go? Well, Wall Street last week said my number finally. 5% inflation is where they think it's going to spike. Great news. So first they'll raise your benefits up, then they'll apply the benchmark. And if the benchmark's 5%, your benefits will raise up, not just next year, lifetime at 5%. Then if the inflation rate is 2% the year after that, you'll step up at 2% plus 5%. Incredible, great news. Finally, they're going to remove the asset cap dating back to a 1980s law that says you can't have more than $3,000 on hand. Now you have time to have a muddled. No, we just don't put muddle on our hand. We don't put muddle anywhere. We don't muddle. Time to put a stimulus check in your hand and maybe a taco. They're going to remove the income cap dating back to a 1960s law that says you can't work and stay on benefits. And finally, the marriage penalty is going to go away. Love is going to win, and love will be able to conquer all. Viewers like Rob and Sandy will be able to get married and no longer fear the marriage penalty. And there you go. That is fifth stimulus. But boy, there's a lot of other stuff exciting across the board. And if you have not become a member and you're wondering, who are these people with all these purple hawk emojis in the live chat? They're members. And you're wondering why they have big sums of money next to their name of achievements they've gotten for rent, utilities, and SNAP. It's because they became a member. As a member, you're delivered daily from me via the YouTube community page, a breakdown of all the big money under third stimulus. There is fortunes put into the third stimulus for you to get. Did you get it? Well, I show you how to get all that big money. And when second stimulus was passed in fall of last year, it was a $600 stimulus check. I said, well, yeah, but I'll get you $6,000. I got Tyrone $15,000, family of 4 out of Boston. When third stimulus was passed earlier this year, there was a $1,400 stimulus check. I said, yeah, but I'll get you $14,000. I got Nisi $23,000, and I got my viewer on IG $18,000. I got Louis $18,000 as well. So it shows you the big sums of money. And as fourth stimulus becomes a law, I will be focused on getting every penny for you as well of that $3.5 trillion. Yes, which brings us to the final 15 of the final 7 in this recording. In the final 15 minutes, we'll be going over, starting right now, everything you need to know about what's potentially happening in the next 7 days, and it's going to be jam-packed. Let's start with the recon. Number 1, deal done. The fourth stimulus recon is a done deal, ostensibly until they do the final vote, because they have passed an agreement of a $3.5 trillion package. They've agreed upon a price, and they've agreed they're going to pass it, Senate Democrats. This is huge. Number one, why? Because the Senator Tim Kaine says once you have an agreed upon price and agreement among the Democrats in the Senate, all you have to do is slot the prices in. Number two, it's a big deal because it's a big price. $3.5 trillion is a fortune in checks for you. These are checks that Bernie Sanders went into the meeting asking for $7 trillion of them and went out ecstatic that he got 3.5. Why is he still happy? While it's exactly half, he says he's just doing the same programs with less amount of time, potentially half the amount of time. Now, here's what you need to know is number one, $3.5 trillion of checks are coming to you under for stimulus. These are checks for everyone, including seniors and workers. This is not the children's check. The children's check is third stimulus. This is fourth stimulus. And I know why some people now are jumping in the chats saying that maybe fourth stimulus is children's checks. I've seen some very bad YouTube channels lately that are talking in the title about fourth stimulus and children's checks in the same sentence, which is bad. It's bad grammatically, and it's confusing because fourth stimulus is not the children's check. That's the third stimulus check. So welcome here. Turn those other channels off. But while we were not supposed to see what the provisions are in the fourth stimulus, I have some of them. They have been leaked. These are some of the provisions, some of the checks that are in the fourth stimulus. Oh boy, you ready? Checks for everyone, including seniors and my workers. Wow. Checks for free school meals for all. Checks for tax breaks. Checks for cheaper prescription medication. Yes. Checks for immigration reform. Checks for money for elections. Checks for farmers. Checks for free internet. They're going to be giving fortunes to local cities so they can offer you free internet. Checks for clean energy. And then here comes the big checks for you, for my seniors and for my workers. Workers first. Checks for independent contractors and unions and collective bargaining. And then my seniors. Checks for Medicare expansion. Checks for lower eligibility age. Checks for dental. Checks for vision. And checks for hearing care. Yes, great news. And trust me, over the next few months, I will be ensuring that I get you all of those checks. 3.5 trillion. Remember, Purple Hawk, hawk, hawk. It's first come, first serve. You got to pounce and get that money before anyone else. And as soon as it becomes law, I'm going to show you how you get it. All right, next thing is the bipartisan, the roads and bridges. 2 weeks ago, Mitt Romney said that the final vote and the bill would be done for the bipartisan last week. I said not going to happen last week, too soon. Broadcast media agreed with me. I said this coming week. And that's when broadcast media agreed as well. What happened to Chuck Schumer this week? Chuck Schumer just a few days ago called a vote on the bipartisan, but not the bill. Rather to end the voting and to end the discussion about the bipartisan. The vote was to end discussion negotiations about the bipartisan in the next few days. I said it was not going to pass, and it didn't pass, but it brought great news. The great news was Chuck put fire underneath the feet of the GOP, and suddenly, out of nowhere, Ron Portman, Senator, Republican, delivered a letter to Chuck Schumer saying that he has signatures from 11 Senate Republicans who have agreed to call the vote on the bipartisan bill this coming week and pass it. Yes, exciting deliciousness. Now, this is to call the vote on the bipartisan bill this next week. Why is this huge news for us? If you've been with the channel for the last few weeks, you know the answer. Because you have to call the vote on the recon, our bill, before you call the vote on the bipartisan, the roads and bridges bill. And Nancy and Chuck confirms they're doing that already. Well, that means if the bipartisan is ready, then we can tee up our recon to go for a vote next week as well. Yes, very exciting news. Now, here's my opinion of the situation. I have to weigh the weight of a Ron Portman statement against a Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney said, next week, but if not the week after. I believe Mitt Romney extensively. I've detailed both individuals in the last year, and Mitt Romney, every time he says a date, every time he says a bill, every time he says a guideline, he delivers exactly to the minute. He's a former money guy, Bain Capital, and so he really delivers on time and essence. Ron Portman, on the other hand, Ron Portman in March and June of last year, a Republican, said that as people were losing their homes and their businesses and their cars, get back to work, you're lazy, I'm going to cut off your unemployment benefits. Yeah, that Ron Portman. So when weighing Ron Portman versus Mitt Romney, who I'll put more weight in? Mitt Romney. All right. Is there two plan Bs for the Democrats? There's two competing articles out in news publications today. One by a conservative publication that always trash talks Biden, and another one in a mainstream media article. Both of them start with the same premise, so they both describe the same at issue that is being addressed, but they also deliver different second half of stories. So let's compare them. First, they both start the same way. They both start with the Democrats reportedly attentive, not worried, but attentive to the GOP potentially running out the clock. Over 15 years of instances are cited in both articles where the Democrats looked to the GOP to get something done, and the GOP said, "Yeah, it's almost done. It's almost done. We're about to call the vote. We're about to call the vote. Oh, the clock ran out. Sorry," and the Democrats being left with nothing. So the Democrats are very attentive to that history, and both articles say the Democrats are proposing solutions if that's what happens next week. So then the articles change. What are the plan Bs? The conservative publication that always trash talks Biden says the Democrats' plan B is to add roads and bridges back in. Really? I don't see that. I don't see that. Roads and bridges in there was what got these people going nowhere. They couldn't pass anything by the July 4th deadline. Democrats all said they're not voting for the roads and bridges and the recon. It's too big. I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. So what does the mainstream article say? The mainstream article says that Chuck Schumer's plan B has already been formulated, that he met privately with his Senate Democrats, all of them, and even the most problematic ones, yeah, you know who I'm talking about, expressed to Chuck Schumer that they're fine calling the vote on the recon next week, or shortly thereafter, even if the bipartisan is not ready. Now, this is totally different than they had ever positioned themselves about a month ago. Remember, there were enough Democrats who always said, I have to have the bipartisan ready, otherwise I'm not voting in favor of the recon. But apparently those that said that, the ones that actually said that, the sort of problematic Democrats, are so uneased with the slowness of the GOP that at this point they're saying, just call the vote on the recon. They're just taking too long, and I put all my efforts in for them to get moving, and they're just moving too slowly. So this is huge. Of the two articles, which ones do I believe? I believe the second one, of course. Now, let's go over the voting process. There's 12 votes and 12 steps. There's at least 12 votes and steps you need to understand. Throughout today and yesterday, I've seen some comments where people say the following comment: what day are they voting on it and sending out my check? Oh, okay. There's two things wrong with that sentence. The second part is probably the most obvious part of the wrongness. If you've been with this channel for over the last year and a half, this is the United States government. If they call a vote on a bill and they pass the bill at, let's say, 9 o'clock a.m. today, there's no check going out today. They don't send out checks the same day that they vote on a bill. So that's not happening. But let's go to the vote itself. I've made 9 trillion videos describing that under a democracy, it's more than a one-vote government. A democracy means we have two branches of the Congress. We have the House and the Senate. This is sort of what they teach you in second and third grade, that a bill to become a law has to pass the House and the Senate. It's not one vote on one day and everything is done. So, what are the steps? Well, I have been detailing 12 steps. Basically, Senate subcommittee, Senate floor, House, and then back to the president. But I do think, I'm not positive, but I do think it has to go back to the Senate for a vote-a-rama. So when we're talking about the recon procedural and recon substantive, recon procedural can just they can do all that in a day if they wanted to, or 2 days. That's easy. The recon substantive, that would be the same process, but it would likely take about 2 days. I mean, it could take 3 days. The vote-a-rama has to be 2 days under the Constitution. So if they have to do a vote-a-rama, then maybe 3 days for the whole thing, if not 4 days. That is for the recon, not for the bipartisan. And that's what's important to know, is that they have to do those steps. Now, let's go over the bill. And this is really one of the most important things you need to know. The bill, when you see that bill with that S on it, it's not Schumer, it's Senate bill. that bill will get modified. Here's what you need to know. When the Senate has the bill and they're ready to call a vote, do not think that is the end. We have an emoji for it. Not law yet. It's not etched in stone. It's the coffin is not closed up and it's put in the grave. No. In fact, the House Democrats on Friday said that they're ready to modify whatever they get from the Senate. Moreover, you have to understand that people who work in subcommittees are not necessarily the same people who are voting on the Senate floor and the House floor. There's, let's say, 10 people on a subcommittee. That's only 10 people. When it goes to the House of Representatives, there's more than 10 House of Representatives who are Democrats, and they have already vowed to make changes. So when you see the Senate bill recon, if it's right or if it's wrong, it still can get changed. You have to push every step of the way. So there's no time or place to say, I saw the Senate bill and I don't like it and I'm closing up shop. No, you have to push every step across the board. Finally, a personal message. You know, in different days, you see different things happen in comments. And I certainly commented about a week ago where some people are being a little negative and I said, clean it up. And then I had some people, say, I always talk about fake narratives, get ready for fake narratives. I said, get ready for that. But today I saw something a little bit different that I want to address. It happened on Noontime. It always happens on a show that happens to have a big viewership. That show, for reasons I don't know, today's Noontime show was astronomical in viewership. It was enormous. It was probably the most watched Noontime show in maybe a month or two. It just hit for some reason. The comments that I saw from a few people, I had never seen comments like this. The comments were, I don't want to hear about other people's items. I only want to hear about my item. Here's what I saw. I saw people saying, first of all, the reason why I cover FIS stimulus is because my beneficiaries, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, Railroad benefits, and veterans benefits, they were promised SS200 during the campaign for presidency. You know how long ago that was? It wasn't just last week. It wasn't just since February when we started talking about forced stimulus. It's last year. It's early last year. They've been waiting for, over a year for this? Then they were promised during the campaign trail. It didn't during the transition papers. And then the president came into office in January. Haven't seen it. So that is why I cover FIS stimulus, because of their raise of their benefits. The removal of their marriage penalty. For many people, they've been married for 30, 40 years. They lost all their benefits because of this. That's why I cover it. I don't cover it for the FIS stimulus check. I spend 10 seconds on the FIS stimulus check. But on Noontime today, there were no less than 4 people saying, stop talking about FIS stimulus when we haven't gotten forced stimulus. The problem I have with that comment is it's basically saying, don't provide any information for people on SSI and SSDI. Just let them guess what's happening with their benefits. Just have them guess where their benefits are going to get lifted. Just have them guess or not be informed about whatever happened to all those lifted benefits that were promised during the campaign trail. And only focus on what you want to know about. That's horrible. I mean, that took me, when I went off camera, that took me to another level where someone was telling me that their life is more important than someone else's life. And that everyone who's a veteran should have no information. Everyone who's a senior should have no information. Everyone who's on SSI should have no information because you want to know what day you're getting a forced stimulus check in your hand. Oh, boy. Yeah, that was another level of, and I don't think I've ever seen that. Then I also saw in some of the comments where someone said something along the lines of, I don't want to hear about these people getting free rent. I just want to know where my money is. Again, it showed someone so only caring about themselves that they didn't care to just wait a few minutes till I get to your subject, because I'm going to get to your subject in the video. It's not like I'm not covering your subject. I'm not to cover anything for a person who's about to be homeless, for a person who can't make rent. I'm supposed to not tell the person who needs that rent to prevent homelessness because you want to know where your check is today. That's like another level of selfishness I've never seen. I've never seen people jump into a chat and say, I don't want to hear about other people's issues. I only want to hear about mine. I hope that as this economy, as this country sort of endures this sort of latest rage of Delta, that we understand that we're here to help one another. There's a reason why I always tell people to post their success stories in the chat, because people help one another in this channel. Whether you're sharing information, maybe someone doesn't know the answer, and then, you know, Dragon jumps in the live chat and answers the question for someone else, and then someone says, "Thank you, Dragon, I didn't know that answer." Or Gail explains someone to something else. This is how it's done. That is how people help each other. And then when Nisi says, "I got 23,000," inspires 20 people else to get rent, and suddenly they're contacting Crayola and Crystal. That's how people help each other. But for someone to jump in a chat and say, "I don't want anyone else's information to help them, I just want to know about my information," is a level of selfishness I have never seen. And I don't think I've ever seen that before. And I hope I don't see it again. And with that, I want to end on a positive note, not with that. The exciting news is that this channel will be expanding. And in the month of August, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. In the month of August, I will be able to deliver you more programming throughout the day. I've been testing out lately a new afternoon show at 1 o'clock before the 3 o'clock show. A throwback show at 1 o'clock that shows you the latest update on the financial markets and stimulus and everything going into the 3 o'clock show. And it's been a big hit. It's been a big hit. So I will be expanding programming so that you can see a show on this channel newly every hour to every 2 hours on the hour. And yes, a lot more shows, so a lot of ability to get into the live chat, interact with our friends, chat, and get informed about things across the board. Sirloin will be returning, and of course, we'll be expanding into stock coverage as well. And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this channel. Hit that subscribe button. Like this video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Stay informed, stay focused, always stay positive, always stay caring about other people, and stay with LA for more.